the grapes. Check this out.
Hello, and welcome back to the Youth Group Reunion Tour podcast, the podcast that unpacks the Christian cultural touchstones that you grew up with in the 90s and 2000s. I'm your host. My name is Jared.
And this is Mikey B.
We're excited to be back here. Sorry it's taken us a while to get another episode out. We've been real busy. I was on vacation, and we've had other stuff going on. Busy summer.
Technically your honeymoon, right? I mean, let's not understate this. This was a serious vacation. It was worth skipping the podcast for a few weeks for.
Yeah, it was a very delayed honeymoon. When we got married, we were poor, and then COVID happened. But then eventually we went to Hawaii for 8 days. It was great. Had an awesome time. Yeah.
Well, your tan has faded now, Jared.
Now we have that in common. We both went to our honeymoons in Hawaii. Look at that.
Yeah, that's right. No, Hawaii was awesome. It was a good place. I would recommend it to anyone on their honeymoon. So hopefully you weren't steered wrong. Yeah. Not that I had much to do with it, but
So today's episode is a very we thought it would be very timely given the time of year that this is and when it's going to be released. So our episode today is going to be talking about Vacation Bible School.
I love it. I love the time of year of Vacation Bible School. So here's my V.B.S. credentials and street cred. As I've established previously on this podcast, I grew up Catholic, and our V.B.S. was not that cool. It was, I did technically go to it.
I was going to ask you, I was like, I didn't even know if the Catholic churches had V.B.S.
It was basically watching VeggieTales. It was not as structured as the Protestant church. We did sing songs and things like that, but
it wasn't a whole production there.
No, it's not that we went to a small church either. It just was. I literally the only thing I remember from it is watching the Grapes of Wrath, I believe, from VeggieTales. So that was my only takeaway with it. But
at first, I forgot you had mentioned VeggieTales, and I thought you were talking about like the movie of the John Steinbeck. I was like, what?
Yes, they sat us down and we all watched Turner Classic Movies.
I'm pretty sure like that book is insane. Like there's like all kinds of crazy stuff that happens.
Yeah. It's definitely not targeted towards the V.B.S. audience, But I want to talk about my first time going to the CNMA V.B.S. And so we were in the middle of switching churches, right? We were, trying to figure out where we wanted to go. We tried out a bunch of different things. And so my mom, through my aunt, got invited to, hey, you should take your kids to V.B.S. and do this women's Bible study at the same time. And so I met a lot of people in 5th grade. V.B.S. was my first V.B.S. officially. So it was a good time because...
Oh, you almost missed it. Yeah, you almost missed the good times.
I did. So I don't have like the OG Vacation Bible School memories. I was always kind of an older V.B.S. kid. I believe ours ran up to 8th grade or something like that, maybe 7th grade. So I definitely did it for a few years.
I think at one point it went up to 8th grade, but I definitely remember... at some point, me being in middle school and helping with V.B.S. So at some point, they only went up to like 6th grade or something at one point, I guess. But yeah. But
so I was an older kid, and it was just like I was like, "Whoa, this is really fun!" Because my first impression was people getting dressed up, and one year it was like a science theme type of thing, and people were wearing lab coats and like these crazy wigs and. You're trying to I didn't know the layout
of wig on.
Well, I didn't know the layout of the church, right? And if you've ever been to our church, they have this basically underground lair of tunnels. So they had this old sanctuary that they built onto, right? And they connect to each other through tunnels. So as a kid, there's just like this weird element of mystery and like mystique, because I remember in the skits, the person doing it, he would like go into the tunnels and then come back out totally different. And we're all like, whoa, like, where did he come from? We're like, he'd come up behind the baptismal font. We were like, whoa, how did he get there? Like, it was mind blowing as a kid because I didn't know the layout. And, honestly, it was the best place ever to play underground church or whatever you want to call CTF, capture the flag.
Our church had 2 sanctuaries, so it was like really big to begin with. Because a lot of churches are like just a sanctuary. So we
Mhm.
had 2 sanctuaries plus a gymnasium and like a whole like 3-story like classrooms and stuff. And so the V.B.S that our church would host growing up was massive. Like it was hundreds and hundreds of kids because it would go from like I want to say maybe 4-year-olds to like I think eventually they cut it down to like 6th grade. But at
Yeah.
one point, it definitely went up to 8th grade. Because I remember when I was little, my brother was there and he was in 8th grade, and I
Mhm.
was like in kindergarten or something. So yeah, it was wild. We had like hundreds and hundreds of kids, and it would be people that didn't even go to our church. Like it was like I don't think it would be bragging to say it was the best V.B.S in the county. All right,
Yeah.
so because
It was cool for me
yeah,
as an
yeah,
outsider coming in, so that definitely applies.
the other thing that was cool about our church is that it had like its own like yard, like a big lawn. So in addition to having a gymnasium and all this other space, these classrooms, these sanctuary and stuff, it had like a huge front lawn and a back lawn and stuff for games and things like that. So yeah, there would be like in our sanctuary like hundreds of kids there. It was like a whole production.
Mhm.
And like what they would do generally is like they would have um, they would like buy like a V.B.S production each year that would have like it would come with like all the stuff they needed, like the sheet music for all the songs and like costumes and worksheets and everything like that. And then they would just run off as many copies or whatever as they needed. So we'd have different themes. So I remember now that you say it, there was like a mad scientist year.
Mhm.
I remember when I was little, this was before the second sanctuary was built. This is
Mhm.
when there was only the one sanctuary. I remember the theme was like fishing,
Mhm.
and I remember that I'll just say this guy's last name, since I don't remember his first name, and it was the old pastor. His name was Pastor Temple, which is a pretty funny name for a pastor, I always thought. But Pastor Temple had on like a bucket hat, like a fishing bucket hat, and he had on like waders like that went up to that's like the top of his chest, like, and these big things, and he had like a fly fishing thing that didn't have a hook on it, and he was like casting something into the crowd and stuff that I remember.
Awesome.
Um, do you remember any of the other themes? I remember one other one from when I was a helper, but do you
Yeah.
remember any of the other themes?
I might be getting them confused from when I was a helper. I definitely remember the mad
Yeah,
scientist one, but maybe I was a
yeah.
volunteer at that point. I
I think I was
remember,
a kid. I think that we were kids when that one happened.
yeah, I think there is a Western one. I
Oh,
vaguely,
there definitely was a Western one. I remember that each day they would give you like a little like tchotchke,
yeah,
and it was like a little like action figure or whatever.
yeah.
And one of them was a cactus, and I remember it because we had it in my pool, and we would like dive for it. We'd throw it in and dive for it.
Yeah, yeah, it was something like that. So I remember something that was like vaguely
There was a
Western, something like that.
rainforest one, I think. There's
Yeah,
a
I do
western
remember
one and
that.
maybe a rainforest one, like a jungle one. The
Mhm.
one that I maybe that was the one that I was the helper. I remember. So my experiences with V.B.S have like spanned like from when I was a kid, when I was old enough to go, and then when I was aged out to like go to V.B.S, I would help with it. I would go and I would help lead games or just like corral kids or whatever. But
Mhm.
the one that I remember that was really fun when I was in like maybe like a junior or senior in high school. Um, at the beginning of V.B.S and at the end, there would be a little skit that you would do. So they'd sing some songs and you come out and you do like a really like a 5 minute or less skit, and then it would be like a to be continued, and then at the end of the day you would like continue it. And so I was on the team that was like the actors for the skit, and so it was me, Dave, Jerapon, and Kelly. I
Mhm.
think were or the people that were doing it. And my character was that I was basically Indiana Jones, and that's why I think it was a jungle one that year.
Yeah.
And for what I was going to dress up in, I was like, what should our costumes like were pretty much, we just kind of like, used what we had at the church or like what we had at home. So they're like, your costume is going to be, a fedora and a bullwhip. And then they're like, and then what do you want to wear for that? And I had a Legends of the Hidden Temple shirt.
Oh man.
And it was the green monkeys. And I was like, I'm going to wear this green monkeys Legends of the Hidden Temple shirt. And then like khaki, explorer pants, I guess. So I had khaki shorts on, a Legends of the Hidden Temple shirt, a leather fedora, and a bullwhip. And that was my costume. I don't remember what that character's name was, but it was, it was probably something like, Wisconsin Smith or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Something somewhat generic, like plausibly deniable.
It was just, they were just like, Indiana Jones, let's pick another state and another common last name, and that'll be good enough.
Yep.
That'll be good enough for the kids to get the joke.
Yeah. Hey, so while you were talking, I pulled up the archive machine, and I pulled up some previous ones if you're interested in kind of hearing them. So I'm trying to jump through.
How did you find this? Did you go to like our church's website?
Yeah, I went to Northmar's archive page. And whatever was archived, like I figured it would be on the front page in like June or whenever it usually is, right? Ours was always shortly after school.
Ours was always like end of June. It was probably third or fourth week of June, probably.
Yep. So here is one from 2004. It was June 14th, 2004 is when this is.
Okay.
This was from Lava Island. It says, you'll enjoy crafts, exciting games, experience thrilling Bible stories, and hear unforgettable music. Plus, you will meet lots of new friends. As kids learn about Jesus' love, they'll enjoy hands-on Bible adventures and daily visits from Chatter Chipmunk. Since everything's hands-on.
I remember that.
Chatter the Chipmunk?
Yeah, I remember that.
Really? I don't remember Chatter Chipmunk. This was before I guess I was there.
All right, so here let's do this before we get too much farther. Let's go through like what a normal day of V.B.S. would look like for our church, right? So
okay,
it probably was it start 8:30 or 9, right? Sound right? Maybe kids start getting there at 8:30. So you get in, you get checked in by your mom, right? You go, everyone have a name tag. You'd have like a name tag. Like if you had pre-registered for V.B.S., you'd have like a laminated one that had like the theme of the year on it or whatever. But if you were like they would be like, hey, bring your friends. So if you brought a friend, they just have like a stick on like, hello, my name is whatever one. So you get checked in, and then you'd go and you'd have like a special section of the sanctuary that was for your class. So you're separated by grades. And so they would have, I'm pretty sure boys and girls were all together until you got into like the upper grades. And then it would be like 5th grade girls, 5th grade boys.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. It would be like 5th and 6th grade girls and 5th and 6th grade boys is probably the way they would probably combine them like that. Mm-hmm. And then you'd be hanging out with like whoever the adults were that were helping. Sometimes it'd be high school or college kids or someone's mom or dad or whatever. And they'd be playing music like on a CD. They'd be playing music and stuff. Then around 9 o'clock or whatever, things would kick off, and we'd have our pastor's wife, the music pastor's wife would come out, and she was like, the person that was in charge of all the songs and stuff for V.B.S. So she'd come out and she knew all the motions and all the words, and she would lead everyone in these songs. And there would always be like songs that were like a theme for like there would be new songs every year, with the exception of one, which we'll get to. And so, and then as you went through like each day, there would be like a new song that was like whatever lesson was going to be taught that day. So if they were like, teaching a lesson about humility or something, there would be like a song that was maybe about that or whatever. And then, like I said, after they did the singing, they do like a short skit, and then everyone would break up and go to like different parts of the church. So it'd be like, maybe 1st graders are going to go do arts and crafts first, and 2nd graders are going to go to games, and third graders are going to go to do their lesson, and fourth graders are going to go to like the theater or whatever it was. So everyone, they'd split up. They're going everywhere, all over the place. So then there would be different stations, and you'd be there for like maybe a half hour to an hour for each station, depending on what it was. And so one of them was crafts. Mike, do you remember any of the crafts that you made at V.B.S?
Oh man, I've got some funny stories about the crafts. Dude, do you want me to get into them now? Because they're pretty funny.
Yeah, go ahead. The one thing that our church usually did is it was like a week-long craft, and you would do like a different stage of it each day.
Yeah, right. It was pretty involved, and so it really depended on what I hadn't done too many, right? And I was never very crafty, and so I remember like this was one of my first VBSs. There was definitely a squad that I could tell who were sort of the in crowd, and they were being typical 5th, 6th grade boys, and so everybody was like pronouncing their names backwards and like talking about who would kill each other with a lightsaber and things like that, right? Typical 5th, 6th grade boy dialogue.
Who would win in a fight, Indiana Jones or Han Solo?
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those kind of things. But so this is you just triggered a latent memory. I haven't thought about this in decades. I was new to the church, and there is this kid there named Robert who I was starting to get to know. We went to the same. We lived in the same town.
Last name start with an S?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I thought of his name backwards because that's how I first knew him. So we were doing this craft, and it was like a birdhouse or something like that. And so some of the younger kids were making cooler things. I think that like
each grade did a different thing, so that if you were like a family that had multiple kids there, your mom didn't just get 5 of the same craft.
Right. Yeah. So I think that maybe the 4th graders did something cooler, like they made something that was like a car or like a boat or something like that. Well, our grade, we were doing these bird houses or something like that, and they weren't the coolest. And so Robert
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know what the thing is. It was, if I remember it correctly, I think my mom still has it. If I remember it correctly, it was like a welcome sign.
Yes, it was
as if it was a birdhouse, right? So it was like a long 2x4. And then it had like a triangle top to it, like it would be on a birdhouse. And then there were like wooden letters that you'd painted that said "welcome." I remember you had to sponge paint it at one point, and then you put the welcome on. And then there was like grass, like a nest that you put around the base of it. And then there was like a peg that came out as if like a bird was going to be there and stuff. Yeah.
So that's literally what it was. And so being a 5th grade boy, Robert was like, this is dumb. Like, why can't we do something cool? Last year we did something cool. And a youth leader heard him say that. Yeah. She's like, well, fine. You can sit out and just not do this. And he's like, okay. And I just remember like this kid who I barely met just like sat on a chair by himself while we all made these birdhouses. Like, I was like, oh man, that's crazy. But he never did it, and honestly, he probably was right, considering it was just a thing for us to do. But
my mom still has that, and she still displays it proudly to welcome people to our house.
It was just a funny memory because I was like, "Oh crap! Like you got in real trouble." He didn't make the birdhouse, but he just kind of sat there, sort of smug, and there was a war between him and this particular leader for the rest of the week. My mind was blown.
Another thing I remember that we made, and I don't know if I would have been in a different grade than you, so you might not have done this one, or you might not have been there, but it was a magazine rack, and it was like ocean themed. And so I remember at one point, like painted it like blue or something, and then one day they were like, it gave us a bunch of like seashells, and they were like, here, glue these to this. So it was like hot gluing seashells to this magazine rack or whatever. And I still have that too. I thought I had it at my house. I thought I had it. It used to be on this bookshelf behind me on the bottom, and I had a bunch of stuff in it. Like I kept a bunch. It's where I kept a bunch of CDs. Like I had a bunch of like Reliant
Yeah.
K and 1,000 Foot Crutch CDs in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it must be at my mom's house. But I know we still have that too.
Yeah. So we made the crafts, right?
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
we
So after crafts time, this is just an example. This isn't an exact schedule, but after crafts time, you would go to something that was like theater, like Chatter's Theater, right? Which was
yeah.
this chipmunk, and the chipmunk was like a hand puppet that that they would like, someone would do, and there was like with the like when the church would buy like that year's VBS, it would come with like a bunch of either VHS or DVDs depending on the year that were like 5 to 10 minute short video of this hand puppet Chatter the Chipmunk that was like it would do something different each day that would like it would like learn the lesson of the day or something.
Right.
And then after that, and then they would ask you like some questions about it afterwards. And then after that, you might go to like snack. So snack was one of the times, and he's usually like, sometimes the snacks were like awesome, and then sometimes they were like, you're like, here's just granola or something. But sometimes they were like themed, like they would like like if it was like a snow theme, they might have like some marshmallows or like in the shape of like a snowman or something. But
Mhm.
um, and then after snack, it was always like snack was always combined with game time. So it was
That's
like
right. Yeah.
after you did your snack, you'd go to game time, which was obviously the best time you could have in VBS was game time. Um, and that would be outside, and I always remember us being lucky and having good weather. I don't ever remember it really like raining or anything that I can recall.
They were pretty good at like doing stuff on
Yeah,
the fly, and I'm sure there was a
yeah,
day that got totally ruined by weather,
yeah,
because you kind of
yeah,
alluded to this earlier, but there literally was like like you might have like a fire escape map or something that shows where every group is at what time.
yeah,
Like I
yeah,
remember being a volunteer and looking like, okay, in this hall this group is here, and then
yeah,
outside the fourth graders switch, and then they come inside to the fifth graders, and then like it
yeah. It
was
was
just
like
like a
they
very
would have
well
like
oiled
a
machine.
Yeah, like when we were older and we were leaders, they would give you like a map of the church, and then they would have like all the rooms would be numbered, and then it would say like on your schedule it would be like 9 to 10 or whatever sanctuary, and then it would say like 2, which was the gym, 3, which was the old sanctuary or whatever, and then each grade would have their own one that they would keep going with. So yeah,
Yeah.
after game time, the games were sometimes themed. I thought too. Um, I remember what the fishing one was. It was Jonah. That
Uh-huh.
was the theme. It was
That makes
Jonah was
sense.
the
Yeah.
fishing one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, do game time, and then one of the things was like lesson, right? Like you go to your classroom, you have a lesson with your leaders, and then they ask you some questions, and then you'd have like a chance to do like um, to do any like Bible verses that you were supposed to remember. Like at the end of each day, they would like memorize this Bible verse for tomorrow, and then they would like if you memorized it, you'd get like some reward. If you did all of them, then you'd get some other big reward. Um, usually like one of the pastors would like volunteer to somehow humiliate themselves, where they
Yep.
would be like I'll shave my head, or like I'll shave my beard off, or like I'll dye my hair uh purple or something.
So those were the biggest ones, right? Those were
Yeah.
always like it was some rotation of those, and I feel like they
Yeah.
just kept having to like escalate it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Pie in the face was
Yeah.
one, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be like now it'd be like, I'll get a tattoo.
Yeah.
That's like the big yeah, it was I remember one of them was definitely they shaved their head.
Yep.
Paul was like always would auction his goatee up for
Yeah.
for stuff for charity. The only time he would shave was for charity.
Yep. I mean, it was like a nice
Yeah,
visual, I'm sure,
yeah,
to come to the church and be like,
yeah,
you might be wondering why I don't have any eyebrows
yeah.
today. And
Yeah,
it's
because then,
because we
then
were
they would be
raised
like on Sunday. Yeah, they'd be in front of the entire church and have to tell the story of why they shaved their head.
right, exactly. Like it was a good thing. I remember, so that was like the last thing that they would do before we left, actually. So I know we kind of
Yeah, on
skipped ahead,
Friday.
but I
Yeah,
remember them like that was kind of like the call to action, like go home, do chores, mow the lawn and collect as much cash as you can. And, we'll see how,
bring your friends, memorize your Bible
exactly.
verse, come back tomorrow.
Right. And
And
then
it
they would
was
have like an update on if we reach this, we'll get this. And I'm sure it got topped up by some parents at some point, but
so usually it was like we were raising money for like one of the missionaries of the church, right? So like our church would sponsor like numerous missionaries that were all over the place, and usually it'd be like, hey, our missionaries in Jordan need $2,000 to do something, and we're gonna try and raise money for V.B.S. And then if you hit the goal, then the pastor would do one of those things. And then there was like another thing even beyond that, like if you were like the classroom or whatever that memorized the most Bible verses or brought the most money or whatever it was, like you would be like the one that got to shave their head or something, or like got to pie them in the face or something like that.
Yeah, if you were like the most in your grade or something like that, like you got a chance to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one, I wasn't necessarily part of it. I just remember how chaotic it was. Cause like I said, it was probably one of my first VBSs, but Pastor Jeff, he volunteered. It wasn't actually being shaved, but he volunteered to be covered in shaving cream.
Yeah.
So the winning grade, I believe, got a chance to like cover him with shaving cream, and they just passed out Barbasol
they gave
cans.
It a bunch of cans of shaving cream.
Yeah, he just put on the goggles. Yeah. Or it was maybe that, and I think maybe some silly string was involved with that too. But I just remember a chaotic, like Lord of the Flies type of scene where like every single kid was just like, spraying the entire bottle of shaving cream on him. I was like, whoa, that is a ton of shaving cream.
I remember being jealous. I was so jealous that I didn't get to do it.
Yeah, it was very fun. And there's actually, and maybe they miscalculated because there's a lot of shaving cream in those little cans. Like they probably should have done the travel bottles, but like an entire can was like pretty much enough for a whole bucket, right? And you figure you have 20 or 30 of these, it was quite the disaster piece when we were done, but it was fun. It was like really memorable because,
I mean, we're still talking about it.
Right.
And then one of the other stations they would go to is this one was usually in the old sanctuary because it had a stage, and there would be like a live action play that would be acted out. But this was always a story from the Bible. So the ones that were happening in the beginning and end of the day were related to the theme of V.B.S. These ones were always stories from the Bible. So it might be like the prodigal son or something like that. One time when I was volunteering, I got this job. So I was in this acting one or whatever. And I don't remember what the story was, but I remember that it was me and our friend's brother, Chuck. So me and him were acting it out. And I want to say it was the prodigal son, but I don't remember why I would have done this. But I was like, hey, Chuck, I'm gonna stage choke you. And so basically what it was is that I was going to grab him and he was going to grab onto my arms with both of his arms and like lift up so that it looked like I was choking him, but really it was just like I was holding him and he was holding onto my arm. And so I picked him up. He was at this point, I think he was in like 7th grade. He was very small at the time. And so we practiced it, and I picked him up and I held him like over my head because he was really small and I was really strong at the time. And so I picked it, and it was like we practiced it, and then like the kids would come in and we'd do the performance for them, and they would like be terrified because they thought I was literally picking him up and choking it with one hand. Like
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
Did you ever so this was something that you just brought up, another memory that I had. So maybe a tangent, but we had not a vacation Bible school teacher, but a Sunday school teacher. And I remember it was like one of our first Sunday schools with him. Yes, it was Mr. J. Yeah. And it was, it went with the school years, right? So like you would like graduate into it and it would be the start of the school year. Well, my birthday's in September, which is like usually the start of the school year. And of course it was the start of the new teacher for Sunday school. And so I remember him saying, like, someone said it was my birthday or something like that. And he picks me up by my armpits and just like pushes me to the ceiling. He's like, "Happy birthday." And he shook me a little bit and then he just let me down. And I was like, everyone was like amazed. But, it was just a funny memory. I don't know why he did that. I'm glad, I wasn't like bothered by that or something. Like, it was really fun. Maybe he could tell that I was, kind of, had a lot of teen angst energy, but it was just like a very funny moment to be picked up and like hit through the, the ceiling tiles a little bit.
I don't recall that. I imagine that was probably when you were in 7th and I was in 6th grade.
Possibly, yeah.
And I can tell you that it definitely never happened to me. Mr. J was strong, but there's no way he was picking me up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe he picked on me because I was small and I hadn't
at least
started
in
lifting
7th
weights.
Grade, you would have been probably, In 7th grade, you definitely would have been small for your size. In 8th grade, you were probably, that's when you're starting to bulk up.
Yeah, that's the 8th
I
grade
was
gym
just
class for
always
you.
the biggest. I came in 7th grade and I was the biggest kid.
Yeah,
bigger
that's
than
awesome.
the 8th graders.
Yeah. I have one more memory from that. If I can, I know it's not about Sunday school, but you just unlocked some good stuff.
Yeah, come on.
So this is one that my sister would remember, but there is a kid in her grade named Dan, not the Dan that we both know, but different
Dan
one.
Smith.
No, different one.
Dan's name is common enough. I feel like we could say it. No problem.
Yeah, that's fine. Not the Dan Smith either. That's the rapper of
not the guy that's saying the
Baby Got Book.
Baby Got Book. Yeah.
Apparently, this kid named Dan said we had like a closet in the back of one of the youth rooms, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna hide in the closet for this like lesson," and so he like just goes up there and he like is able to stretch out completely and like lay on the shelf up there. And he spent the entire Sunday school class just like laying back there. And then at the end, he thought he was going to like make this epic entrance or exit, but he just like got down from the shelf when it was over and then just walked out, and no one really said anything or cared. But it was one of those things that I think he thought was going to be really funny and really epic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he was laying down in the shelf like the whole time. Everyone was just like, oh, Dan, why are you like?
No, see
were you in the closet the whole time?
No, what he should have done is that he needed to like wait until there was like some sort of like comedic moment where he could have said something funny where no one knew he was there, and then he hits him with a zinger. Then he gets down and leaves then he George Costanzas and leaves on a high note.
It was just a weird memory that, like, that's so weird to describe it to someone. But
he got what he wanted because we're talking about it still. Yeah. Someone remembered it.
It was very memorable. So anyways, we would do these challenges, right? We would shave, we would dye their hair. They would be wacky colored hair. I remember one of the leaders, Robin, she dyed her hair pink one time, like a very bright fluorescent pink, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was full on like neon anime pink.
Yeah. Which was like pretty funny and pretty cool as a kid because even if you're sitting in the back row, you can see it. Whereas like the beard might not be as obvious, but the pink hair really lights up the room.
See her in church, and she still had it.
Yeah, exactly, right. So yeah, we would have we would do all those things, and then
at the end of the day, you'd all come back to the main sanctuary, and they would do this final like theme skit. And then they would do some more songs or whatever, and then you'd get released. Your parents would come pick you up or whatever.
Around like noon, right? Like
usually I think it ran from 8:30 to noon is what I think it ran from. Which when I was a kid, it seemed like it was like the whole day, and really it's like nothing.
Yeah.
Just a couple hours, but it was the highlight of my day for sure. The thing that I think I really liked about V.B.S. is that it was all the excitement of like of like the great stuff about school, like seeing your friends and hanging out. But then you didn't have to do homework or anything like that. It was just like, come hang out with your friends, sing songs, and play games. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, your homework was to bring money. I mean, that really was the only thing. That was the ask.
Memorize the Bible verse for the day.
That's true. And get an extra snack or whatever, on the way out.
I think that's how you got the little like action figure things, is if you did the Bible verse, you got the like the cactus or whatever for the day.
Yeah. And it would only run from Monday to Thursday. They wouldn't do it on Friday, right?
So I was pretty sure they used to do it on Friday, but it's possible that they changed it to only be Thursday at some point.
Yeah. I'm looking at these old ones and they say like June 14th to 18th, 9 a.m. to 12:15 each day. So you're pretty much spot on with the timing, but
the other thing that they would do, that this was always kind of like part of V.B.S, is that there would be usually I thought it was Monday to Friday, so I thought this took place on Thursday. But they would have like a big party at the church on Thursday night for all the families. And it was like a carnival. Like it was like they would get a ton of inflatables and like all kinds of food and stuff. And they would invite everyone to come down, like all the kids, any parents that wanted to come down. Cause like a lot of the people would be like people from the neighborhood that just like wanted to get rid of their kid for part of the day. And then the church would be like, hey, come down, eat dinner with us, come see what the church is about or whatever.
Right.
And that was always a really fun thing too. There would be like all kinds of games and stuff. And that was a really fun time. They would always do that during V.B.S week.
I remember pastors in the dunk tank, and I remember
that was one of the things at the carnival. They'd take turns, and they would, Pastor Paul would get up there and like egg people on. Like the thing was like you didn't have to pay to do it either. So it wasn't like they were like making money. It was just like for the pride of dunking the pastor, I guess.
Right. It was fun, and it was hard to like throw those things. But when I remember little kids coming up and like pushing it on purpose or whatever, just like because they're tiny kids, they're little kids. But it was just funny for them to watch. Did they have food there? I'm trying to think if they had. food
I don't think they had like a meal, but they would definitely have like popcorn, cotton candy, other things like that. I think there were like games, and you could get tickets, and you could turn the tickets in for candy or something like that, or like little tchotchkes.
Yeah.
That was a really cool thing that we did. All right, so let's talk about here's what I remember from the when I was in the skit, right? So I was Indiana Jones or Wisconsin Smith or whatever my name was. So like what this would be is this was like the sweetest job if you were like in high school but wanted to help with V.B.S, because all we did is we'd go in each day. We'd hang out in the morning. As soon as all the kids left the sanctuary, we would use the next 2.5 hours to like run this skit and learn our lines. So we would just learn them day of. And then it was basically just me hanging out. It was just me, Dave, Kelly, and Jerapon hanging out. We could go get as many snacks as we wanted. We just roam the church like if we wanted a break. So we'd go play, game time, go find people that were like, had like, people that had their own kids that were like helping with them. We'd just go see them and mess with them or whatever. And then we just do the skit, and everyone loved you. And it was a ton of fun. I remember that at one point, I don't know if I did this every day or just one of the days, but I remember I entered the stage by doing a forward roll. And then I did like the Indiana Jones thing where he dropped his hat. And I had to go back for it, but it was like there was no pressure of like something closing. It was just like I rolled in and it fell, and I was like, oh no. And I was like, I remember I was like I was trying to sell the physical comedy, but like I was on the ground, and I was like, it was like right there, and I was like crawling back instead of just getting up and going to get it.
Yeah. See, I never got the job. So after V.B.S, so like I said, I only did a handful before I sort of aged out of it. But I definitely volunteered because my younger sister was in it. My younger cousins were in it as well.
Yeah.
And I remember being a volunteer was pretty fun as well. So I didn't have that job. of like, I was never in the skits or anything. I probably could have, but they were all taken by the forever people, like you mentioned. So I'm just teasing, but for real, I really like the fact that what they would do is actually split us up, and there's a really good ratio, I think, of kids to like volunteers. And I remember you would have like 4 or 5 people that you were sort of like their individual leader for. So you had like pods within the grades. And so, it was
I
like
would
4
say
or
that
5 kids I was responsible for.
Yeah, I would say each of the younger grades usually had more. Like I would say like maybe kindergarten to second grade, those ones had like the most kids. Like they would have like, 50, 60 kids per class or something like that. And usually what it was is that, you would have like, I think I had like 10 kids that I was in charge of, but so it was me and then our friend Kaylee. I remember one time, I think I was in first grade with her. And so we had like 10 kids between us. It was like 5 boys, 5 girls. And so she and I had like those 10 first graders that we had to like corral from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had a ton. Our church had like a ton of like there'd be like people that would like take the week off from work to or like take a half day and come help and stuff. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a real like church. The whole church community was like they're like V.B.S. is coming up. We were all amped about it.
Yeah. Now the question is, so you mentioned like the carnival type of thing, right? Where they had like the party for parents and things like that the night before it ended. I also remember a few years where at the end there was like this big water gun fight in the yard, and it was only if the weather was good. But I remember there were water balloons, and they were like super soakers and things like that, and it was
I
pretty
remember
crazy.
it.
Yeah. So
It was awesome.
I did not. I wasn't a volunteer for it, but I definitely remember harassing my cousin with some, high powered
I want to
super
say
soakers.
I want to say that was the game on the last day. Was
Mm-hmm.
that?
That
So
sounds about right. Yeah.
I don't think it was like its own thing. I think it was like, hey, on Friday, make sure you're ready to get wet. We're playing
That's right.
water
Yeah.
balloon squirt guns or whatever. And and they'd come out and they'd have like, a bucket of water balloons for each class that came out so that they didn't like,
That's right.
one person didn't use them all up or whatever.
Right.
I think that sounds right. So did you ever attend any VBSs that were at like another church? Like, now you said you went to the one at your Catholic church, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like in the same year that you went to the North Bar one, did you ever go to any other ones?
Not that I remember. I'm trying to think. My memory is kind of fuzzy. I don't think we would have. I mean, apparently I may have, but I don't remember anything about it.
So I would always go to our VBS, and then I would always go to my grandma's church's VBS, which was usually the same as like the same one. So but it was after. So I'd go in and I'd be like, I know everything. Like I'm prepared. I'm the smartest third grader. I know all the answers. I know exactly what Chatter's going to say.
Yeah.
I know all the Bible verses already. I was like, you want the day 4 Bible verse? It's day 1. I can do it. I can do it right now.
Hey, I've seen this one. That's funny. So you literally were stat padding your Bible verses by attending a previous one. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was like a roll into this church because like I didn't know anyone at this church, but sometimes there would be like kids from my school that was there because it was in Niles, and I would go walk in and I'd be like, I already know this Bible verse. Let me hit you with it.
You could have been drafted for the quizzing team. You could have been drafted for the quizzing team. They're like, wow, that's a hot prospect. He knows all the verses before he even tries. This guy really knows his Bible.
That I quoted the only Bible verse from quizzing that I can remember, John 1:1.
Yeah, mine's 1 Corinthians 1:1 as well, because that was the book that we did. So
in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God.
To the Church of God in Corinth. Anyways, yeah.
So another thing that when we went on mission trips, usually one of the aspects of the mission trip was putting on a VBS. So our church had generally like a missions trip that was like a local one that was called Serve. that was usually for like 7th and 8th graders. And it was like in Warren, Ohio, like in the town the church was in. And they would go to like throughout the week, they would do various things. Like they would do a V.B.S. usually. I don't think the whole week, but a couple days, maybe like 3 something days. They would do like an abbreviated version of our V.B.S. They would take all of they would go to like this, this area that was like the like federal housing or whatever, and that usually wouldn't necessarily get to have some of these nice things. They would take once our V.B.S. was done at church, they would take all of the props and everything from our V.B.S., like all these elaborate things down there, and instead of doing like 5 days, they would do like, well, we're going to do days 1, 3, and 5. Like they're going to skip 2 and 4 or whatever. And they would do it for all the kids that lived in that area. And then some of the other things they would do on Serve, which is probably going to be its own podcast at some point. But they would do like, help clean up like a widow's yard, like mow their lawn, help them fix stuff up, go to the homeless shelter and, help them out, like sorting clothes or serving food or doing something like that. So I got to on any given summer, I could be going to, upwards of like 4, 5 V.B.S's.
That's awesome.
And then sometimes we'd go on like a mission trip to another city. Like we'd go to like Philadelphia or West Virginia or something. And then we would also do a V.B.S. when we went there in those places. And they were, I don't know. It was always V.B.S. was always fun.
Yeah, that's right. You reminded me that when I went to West Virginia for the missions trip, we did a V.B.S. like you said, because it was a convenient thing. It was things that families wanted. It was a good way to get in the community. Everybody sort of intuitively understood it.
Yeah, we'd walk around one day and kind of like knock on doors and be like, hey, we're doing a V.B.S. tomorrow. Send your kids down if you want to get rid of them for an hour. Playing games, having snacks and stuff. And we'd walk around and like get the word out the first day, and then we'd do the V.B.S. and the following days.
No, that was pretty cool. And it makes sense. I mean, now the older I get, the more I realize that, when your kids are when your kids are home for the summer, it's like, anything that you can kind of give them a couple hours respite would be pretty nice for parents, especially parents of like some of those families.
Nice for the kids too, though. I mean, go somewhere fun, do something cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a win-win, and it was better than just kind of sitting at home playing video games. It was great.
Yeah. Which I guess that can segue us into our next thing. So we mentioned that each year there were different songs at V.B.S., the exception of one. Mm-hmm. There was one song at our church that was such a legendary V.B.S. song that we sang it every single year since the first year it started until I moved and didn't go to the church anymore. They were still doing it.
It was pretty much a fight song, right? It was so aggressively called for by the crowd that it was
like every single day that it was known by the kids. Basically, it was like passed down by like word of mouth. The kids would be like, last year they played this song. And then the older kids that were like helping, like the junior, senior hires that were helping, they would like, I remember when Kayla and I were there, we would whip these kids into a frenzy. We're like, we got to get them to play V.B.S. And so we would go, it would basically like, we would like our pastor's wife would be up there and she's trying to, Mrs. G, right? She's trying to sing like the all these new songs that she learned, all these motions and things that she learned. And it's just, hundreds of kids chanting, V.B.S., 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 V.B.S. And they would just chant it and forever. And then they'd start to play another song and everyone would go, oh, they would like sigh. And then like, all right, we're going to do this song. And basically what they had to start doing, because this song was, I remember when I was really little, she would just do it every day. Like they would just do it. They're like, all right, we're doing V.B.S. We're doing it at the end of the day. And everyone would go wild. They'd do it. When we got older, I don't know if she was just like tired of doing it, but what she did, she was like, we will do V.B.S. as the last song on the last day. I think that was like the promise that was made. She was like, I promise we'll do it, but I learned all of these new songs. You gotta let me do these.
It's hard to, Jared, I want our audience to understand just how raucous this crowd was. I mean, there were songs that the chanting was so loud that they would stop the song that they were planning on playing because the kids were still chanting V.B.S. through the start of the song. Like, they had to stop the tape, pause it, rewind it, and say, look, we got to do this song now. We're going to get to V.B.S. later, because the chance, it was like Freebird, like on steroids. It was insane.
Just imagine, 300 elementary kids chanting for a song, and then maybe like 20 or 30 middle school and high school kids that are egging them on, being like, yeah, do it, they're gonna sing it if we yell loud enough, they'll do it. V.B.S. I definitely remember being the ringleader when I was like in high school. I was like the first thing we got in there, I was like, we got to start chanting for V.B.S. as soon as possible. We got to let them know we want to hear it. So it was like the first day on Monday, haven't even sang one song yet, and I got the fifth grade boys going, V.B.S. V.B.S.
It was fun, and we haven't even really started talking about the song yet, but it was a banger because it was very chanty like that, right? There was plenty of opportunities to shout, just to yell, it wasn't singing, it was yelling.
Yeah. The words and the tune were both catchy. Like, it was like they were both like earworms. It would be like, stuck with you, singing them on the car on the way home. Yeah, that song ruled. So this song, I think it came out in, was it 93 or 94? So Mike went online and found the sheet music for this V.B.S. and bought it for like $5 or something. And so we have it, and we have the right to perform it because we bought the book.
That's right.
And it was like, for that year, it was like the whole, like all the skits, all the little, like the words for it, and then all the words for the songs. And the musical, that V.B.S. was called V.B.S. the Musical.
Yep.
So I think if you have the copyright there, I think it was 94 or something like that. It was early 90s.
I do. Let me give some credit to where credit is due. This is the true musical genius. Artists they never know, right? When you make something like this, I don't know if they actually knew how impactful this was. I mean, I can't stress enough that this was the banger to end all bangers. I mean, it was a bop to end all bops. It was a generational song.
For literal decades, this song was played in our church. So all this to say is that it came out in the early 90s. It was on a cassette, okay? And the song was recorded, and it was like some kids or whatever singing the song, and they would play the cassette tape, and then our pastor's wife, Mrs. G, and sometimes at some point, I believe Mandy, Pastor Paul's wife, Mandy, began to like help her or whatever. So it'd be those two up there, mic'd up. They'd sing it. They'd do all the motions that went with it, right? But we heard at some point. This is like when I was like in college or whatever. I was, and this is long after like Mrs. G. They had moved to a different church, like to like start their own church where her husband was going to be the head pastor or something. So she was long gone. The song still lived on. So I remember Mandy telling us about it. She was like, the tape is like, it's not going to play anymore. And she's like, we're going to have to retire the song. She's like, I've been trying to find it on CD. They couldn't find it. They were like thinking like, oh, like we might have to record our own version of it just so that the kids have it. Like it was, they literally played it until the tape broke for like decades.
So I wanted to say that because I wanted to make sure that, like, if they are listening or someone sends this to them or they Google it and this podcast comes up, I want to give credit to Carla Worley and Cindy Sterling, the original authors of V.B.S., a children's musical, and also credit to Zachary Zawicki, who did narration on the skits in this thing. This came out January 1st, 1993.
I genuinely love this song. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I loved this song when I was growing up, and I still do. This song still slaps. It rules.
Yep. So what we did is we had to grab the last copy on Amazon. I don't think you can get it now. So if you can get it, it's a rare item. We want to preserve this for the archive. We still have not found the tape or found the CD. If you know of a way, if you are the authors of this or you know someone who has this, please let me know. I will pay good, real money for this, for a copy of this. We found some videos on YouTube.
Willing to trade NFTs.
Yeah.
For this.
Well, we have some yats we can give to you. So if you want your emoji domain, I've got a few. I'll trade you. But no, for real, this was amazing. We don't have a high quality copy of it. All we have is the book, right? And so the book includes two things. Yeah. Yes. It's not just the sheet music, right?
Yes.
The book includes the play. And so we wanted to sit down and relive the glory days of the V.B.S. skit. And so Jared and I, as well as my lovely wife, Leann, friend of the podcast, previous guest of the podcast, sat down to do a dramatic read, a table read, if you will, of the V.B.S. musical. So we wanted you to hear it. We think it's awesome. I think that our acting skills are pretty good. So we're not just podcasters, as you saw. Jared, he has a long history of acting in V.B.S. skits, singing songs, things like that. So I want to play some of this right here. This is one of the days from V.B.S. the musical.
Yeah. So some quick background on this. Originally, we were going to record this episode with Leann as a guest. We started recording and we had technical difficulties. And so that recording was lost to time, but we were able to record this dramatic reenactment, which Mike is going to include right now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Scene 3, large group Bible story time. As the song ends, the children return to sit in a circle on the mat/rug at center stage, gathered around Zach. They are really fascinated and intrigued by this new way of looking at the Bible. Callie, fluffing her hair self-consciously.
Well, okay, I know we should all try to obey God. But hey, if you obey all God's rules, you'll look kind of, weird to everybody. I mean, you just won't fit in.
Whoa! False theology. Obeying God is always more important than fitting in. I think that's why the Bible gives us lots of illustrations of this very thing. Take Daniel, for instance. You read his story, and you find out what happens when you obey God, even when it seems really uncool.
Daniel? What's his story? All the kids ad-lib, tell us, Zach, etc.
No problemo, oh curious ones.
He flips through the Bible to find the story and begins.
All right, picture this. We got our hero, Daniel, and his 3 best buds. Anybody know their names?
Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello? Everyone laughs, and Dennis is embarrassed.
Airball! No. Daniel's compadres were
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
2 points, Muffalina.
He high-fives her.
So anyway, Daniel and his friends lived in Babylon. And this new king came in and took over. Get this. King Nebuchadnezzar.
They laugh.
And I thought Zachary Zwicky was weird. King Neb held a sort of star search to scope out the talent in the kingdom. Only not dancers or rappers, but for the bravest, baddest dudes that he could find to serve in his army. And naturally, he picked Daniel and the guys for his new training program, which included major pig-out fests with every kind of food that you could think of. Only there was one small problem. See, our dudes, were vegetarians.
Yeah, they eat vegetables on purpose?
You mean there's actually something you won't eat?
Everyone laughs. My mom would love these guys.
But weren't they afraid of what everyone else would say? I mean, what would people think?
A most excellent point, Callie. It's pretty simple, though. Daniel and his 3 buds were into obeying God, no matter how unpopular that made them. So when God told them that the best way to be great warriors was to get properly pumped up and not pig out, they obeyed. Well, old King Neb took one look at how they were shaping up, and he said that they could stick to their own program after all. Well, what do you think happened when Neb's boot camp was over?
What?
They were the leanest, meanest fighting machines old Neb had ever seen.
Everyone ad-libs, wow, awesome, right on, etc.
Okay, I think I get it. They ended up being cool anyway.
Not quite. The story gets hotter, if you'll pardon my pun. You see, King Neb built this statue to himself and made everyone worship it.
The kids ad-lib, how weird, etc.
No kidding. It was very weird. But hey, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to do it. They would only worship God. Not a popular decision.
No kidding.
Did they get in trouble?
With a capital T. Neb didn't like being shown up like that. So he had them all thrown into a fiery furnace to die.
The kids ad-lib, gross, wow, sick, etc. and make gagging and sizzling noise.
Ew. Please.
But wait, when the king came back to check on his barbecue, get this. He saw 4 totally cool dudes walking around the fire like nothing was wrong.
Wait a minute. I thought it was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Who's the 4th guy?
Please. It was God.
Aw, come on. How?
How God did it is not the point, my man. It's why.
God went through the fire with them to protect them because they obeyed him. Isn't that it, Zach?
Pretending to leave.
Whoa, you guys are so good, you don't even need a teacher. I'm out of here, man.
The kids all protest. Don't go, Zach. No way. You're the best, etc. So Zach sits back down.
Okay.
Well, that's a good story. But nobody's going to throw me in the fire just because I stand up for God.
Probably not. But they might ask you to cheat on a test for them because you're their friend.
Or tell awful lies about somebody just so you can look good.
All of which are totally bogus requests. Look, it's okay to dress cool and act cool, but to really be cool, especially when things get hot, you gotta know what's right and do it, even when no one else does. If you know in your heart it's wrong, don't do it. It's always more important to obey God. He knows what's best for all of us.
It's sort of like that bumper sticker. Just say no. Yeah, or we can make up a new one. How about, hey, no way? All the kids respond enthusiastically.
Works for me. What do you think, Callie?
Perfectamundo, Zach.
They high five as everybody jumps up.
Now, what are you gonna say?
Hey,
No way!
End scene. Okay, that was a knife.
All right, we're back. Pretty good, right?
Yeah, that was better than I remember, to be honest. I think while we were doing it live, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully you can tell from the expression in our voices.
We were having a ton of fun doing it. My stupid voice.
It was pretty good. Whoa. And like the Ninja Turtles reference, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. For 93, Turtles were peak peak
Eternal
coolness.
mania.
I mean,
yeah. The live action movies had just come out. Vanilla Ice was sweeping the nation with his second hit. The ninja rap.
The modern equivalent would be like a Fortnite reference or something like that. Just be like, "Hey kids, let's get on the battle bus," But it was cool. It was very trendy. It was right on point. Maybe Minecraft. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that's culturally relevant with elementary school kids right now. But Roblox, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, it was super cool. I thought it was well done, and so it doesn't just stop there. Like we mentioned previously, it was not just this skit, right, with all of the words and things like that, but it actually included the sheet music. Well, we have a problem. We couldn't actually get a high quality recording of the CD quality or cassette tape quality of the V.B.S. song. You guys need to hear it because it is just so good that
it rules.
We had to somehow make it available for you to be able to listen to. So what you're about to hear is the official youth group reunion cover of V.B.S. from V.B.S., a children's musical.
With an original third verse that Mike and I created ourselves so that we could add on to the legacy. So the first two verses are real, and then the third one, the ones that mention modern things like Twitter and Xbox Live, those are the ones that we made up.
Yeah, like I said, we want this to be sort of the equivalent of like a modern folk song, right? You can think of it like
passed down through the ages.
Exactly, right. You can think of it. I mean, Jimi Hendrix did Bob Dylan songs and things like that. So it's pretty much a folk song. It's not technically in the public domain, but if you made a cover of the song and posted it to YouTube, that would be pretty cool. I mean, you never know what youth group kids are going to find that and be like, that's the song. That's the song. And right now it's impossible to find that song. If you search
we could not find V.B.S. on YouTube. We tried all kinds of things. We were using Boolean operators. We were doing everything we could to try and find it. Now, we were able to find a home video of this play from like the 90s, but there's nowhere where you can get the actual like song. So you can see the whole play and they'll do the song at some point in it, but there's nothing that like, hey, I want to listen to the song right now, where you can go find it. So we had to do it ourselves.
Yeah, and that play itself that we found is like in the hundreds of views. Now that's before the youth group reunion tour effect, of course. So all of our
in the hundreds of views,
500s, yeah. So, anyways, it'll be a pump. We'll see how big the youth group reunion tour army is. We're commenting on things on YouTube, and people are taking notice. So if you see us online in the comments, say hello. I noticed, Jared, by the way, the people from Extreme Days, the production company.
Oh yeah,
they responded and liked our comment.
Soul Armor. Yeah,
yes.
So like we said, if you want to watch Extreme Days, the whole movie is on YouTube by the original distributor. So like they've okayed it. Go check it out. We commented on it and they commented back.
Which is a big deal. I mean, this is part of that marketing process.
Hey,
anyways,
first Reliant K, then Truth Soul Armor. We're making waves.
That's right. Listen, this is like family here. Everyone who listens to this, it's family and friends, basically. So thanks for being a part of our ride. But as a thank you to our fans and also to be a part of this V.B.S. archive project we're undertaking here, here is the youth group reunion tour cover of V.B.S. Also, I want to mention before we play this is in the public domain. Our cover, feel free to share this cover. As far as like the actual music itself, all copyrights go to the original owners, of course, but this is a performance for educational. Yes,
the third verse is all original, baby.
That's right. Feel free to take that third verse and do whatever you want with it. Turn it into a remix, turn it into a drop.
Make it a TikTok audio sound, who knows?
That's right. Turn it into a reel, do all your stuff, Zoomers. So, or anyone else who's using those things.
Tech savvy.
It was, this is V.B.S., right? So the audience we're trying to reach is now the current people in V.B.S. So without further ado, here is our cover of this song.
Favorite V.B.S. song, V.B.S.
This song is not intended to violate any copyright. We hope it's in the public domain, but this is for educational purposes.
We added our own original verse at the end, too, just in case.
Yep. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. No more classes, no more books, no more teachers' dirty looks, no more recess, no more friends. Where can a kid go when the school year ends? Vacation Bible School, V.B.S. Vacation Bible School, V.B.S. Under the summer sun, what could be more cool than Vacation Bible School? Verse 2. Too much TV, too much time. Being lazy is not so fine. Don't think I can take much more. Where can a kid go when he's really bored? Vacation Bible School, V.B.S. Vacation Bible School, V.B.S. Under the summer sun, what could be more cool than Vacation Bible School? Alright, this is
Our original verse.
Too much Twitter, too much Twitch. Xbox Live's been on the fritz. When your topic doesn't trend, where can a kid go when the live stream ends? Vacation Bible School, V.B.S. Vacation Bible School, V.B.S. Under the summer sun, what could be more cool than Vacation Bible Youth Group Reunion Tour?
YGRT!
Youth Group Reunion Tour. YGRT! Youth Group Reunion Tour. YGRT! Youth Group Reunion Tour. Good stuff.
That was awesome.
I think that was pretty good.
Wow, how about that?
All right, and we're hopefully, if we can manage it, we're going to try and put it on Spotify.
Okay.
If we can manage it. We've talked about this. I'm not surprising you, right? We had talked about this, right?
I was feigning surprise to make a more dramatic podcast. Wow, that's a great idea, Jared. We should do this. Should I? I don't know. See, that's that V.B.S. acting coming
Sorry,
in.
Mike.
Yeah.
You should have been up there, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good. No, I never had a chance. I was kind of, I probably could have acted. I enjoyed it, but I just was like, I don't know. Maybe you would call me a slacker of sorts. For instance, we had to put on a play in middle school, and I feel like my voice can project. I did different things. I have a very loud voice. I don't know if it comes through on the podcast, but
show some respect. No one's louder than me.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people tell me when I speak. They're just like, you're really loud when you speak. And I'm like, yes, because I'm trying to reach the back of the room. Anyways, in middle school, we had to do this play, and we worked on this play, and I forget what it was for. It wasn't like a school play. I think we may have done it for like younger kids or something like that. And so our class, it was like specifically my class, it was like 20 people in the class were all people in this play. And so my teacher had all these parts of what, we could be. And of course, I chose the most slacker part, which was a tree. So I wanted to play a tree. And so this happened like several years in a row where I just continued to play the dumbest roles for people who, didn't want to speak or have any speaking parts. I remember I played the flying monkey in Wizard of Oz, which you show up for like 2 minutes. And so my teacher was like, you can't just be the flying monkey. I said, well, how about this? I'll be the spinning house like that falls at the beginning. So that way I'm in the beginning and I'm in the end.
You should have called her bluff. You should have called her bluff and said, I'll be Dorothy.
Yeah. No, I couldn't be Dorothy, but there's like the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion and things like that. But I chose to stand in a cardboard box and spin around. Actually I fell. So I spun around like, I was in a tornado, and then I fell on the ground with a pretty big slap. And see, that was funny for me because I didn't have any speaking parts. But anyways, it's a long rant to say I could have done it, and I regret not doing more V.B.S. skits because it could have been pretty fun.
When I was in high school, I basically got typecast into being whatever character was the oldest. So now, when I was in the play my sophomore year, there was someone who looked older than me, so he got to play the Reverend in Footloose. Mm-hmm. But then I joined the play late. I didn't audition for it. That was my workaround. I was like, I don't want to do the audition because I'm gonna be bad, so I'll just join late and I'll just be in the chorus because I was just like, I just want to hang out and like be in the play, but I don't want to like try out. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and everything was going to plan. And then this kid quit, and they're like, "You're the only person who looks like they could be this person, so you're up." So the play was Footloose, and I played Chuck Cranston, which is like the dirtbag boyfriend of the main girl character, Ariel. And the first time he shows up, he's smoking a cigarette. And then he makes out with Ariel, and then he sings a song called "The Girl Gets Around." And then later he punches her in the face. And when I played that role, I walked out on stage with like a cigarette. Like it was like a stage cigarette. So like you would blow in it and like smoke would come out. And it was opening night, and a bunch of people from school were there. And I was openly laughed at by people in the crowd because it was so ridiculous that I would be smoking a cigarette. Even though I was like, I looked pretty tough, I thought, but people who knew my character were like, this is ridiculous.
I was in the audience. Leann and I definitely were in the audience for that one.
Did I sell it? Did I sell it when I was smoking that cigarette?
Yeah, I mean, it was a play. It was cool, but you know, I guess your friends, like, it was more of a shock to your friends that you were smoking a fake cigarette. Like, I was able to suspend disbelief a little bit. Like, okay, let's see what happens. You know what I mean?
You believed I was a street tough, making out with chicks and punching them in the face?
The thing, honestly, that I remember it the most is the songs. And there were a lot of songs. Like a ton of songs. Obviously, it's Footloose. So, like, the one that everybody knows is the one that we were looking for. I don't really remember much about the rest, but I just remember like there's a ton of singing in that one, which was way more ambitious to do a musical because our plays at the school I went to, we didn't really do singing. We did things that were just acting because it was just hard enough to get people to act, much less act and sing. It was
we only did one performance a year at my school. It was the spring musical. We didn't do straight plays or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was a junior, we did High School Musical, and I was basically, they're like, you have to be the dad because no one else looks like they could be the dad. So I was the coach. And then when I was a senior, we did Once Upon a Mattress, which is like the story of the Princess and the Pea. And they're like, you have to be the king because no one else looks old. Because they're basically like, you have a beard, so you're the king. And the king didn't have any spoken lines in the plot of the story. He has been cursed and can't speak. So all of my lines, I had to like pantomime them.
See, that's a role. That's a role I probably would have auditioned for because.
Oh yeah, baby. I stole the show. That was my time to shine.
Yeah, you're very royal.
Oh yeah,
I can see it.
Speaking of, you were talking about people with really loud voices. Did I tell you when I was little and I was in T-ball, I got the entire league got banned from yelling in the outfield because I was so loud.
Really? You're yelling like, "Hey, batter, batter," or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I was an outfielder because I was bad, and I was way out in like center field or whatever. And every time a kid would come at the bat, I would just yell "swing" really loud from the back, right? And eventually one of the umpires had to come over like, "Hey man, you can't do that anymore. You're too loud." And then the next day, like the next practice we had, our coach was like, "All right, new rule from the league: you're not allowed to yell at the batter from the outfield at all." Like, it was a rule that they had to create for everyone. They're like, no one's allowed to yell at the batter.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I can absolutely see that because you have a booming voice, and that would definitely carry. You would probably vibrate home plate, like the bases would kind of shatter and shake all the dust off of them. The thunderous.
The only person whose voice had changed yet in like 5th grade or whatever when I was playing.
Right. Yeah, so we would do chatter like that when we played baseball, but I think now the consensus is that's bad sportsmanship. But at the time I was playing,
but it was
yeah. Well, I mean, it was like
at the time.
It was like acceptable bad sportsmanship, kind of like fighting in hockey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna do some checkage, when you play hockey.
Yeah.
Whereas, like yelling, "Hey, batter, batter, swing," that was something that we did from like 5th through 7th grade, and then once you got into 8th grade, you just didn't do it anymore. I don't know that anyone ever said you can't. It was just like it was almost like a way when you consider like the attention span of the average 5th grader. It literally like that chatter is just a way. So you're like focusing on what's going on.
Yeah.
And
no one was hitting the ball to the outfield at that age. So I was just standing there like, yep, I'm just going to do some yelling.
Yeah. It's funny because outfield is probably one of the more technical positions, in pro baseball because, the center fielder has to run everywhere, but 5th grade is
it's just where they put
role.
It's just where they put people that were bad.
Yeah. I call it the dandelion role because it was the kids who would end up like picking dandelions where you weren't involved in pretty much any play, but if you sat out there and picked dandelions, no one would notice. You know what I mean?
There was one time. This was like the last season I played baseball. This is the first year that they had like a real pitcher instead of a pitching machine or whatever. And our pitcher was like on vacation for that game, so they had someone else was going to be the pitcher, and these kids were like destroying it because this kid wasn't good. And so I was out in center field, and I was like kept catching these fly balls. And I was like, "Hey, I'm doing something." And then they were like, they put literally everyone else on the team that to my memory in as the pitcher, just because they were like, well, this one's not working. Let's try this one. They put him in. And I was like, can I be the pitcher? And they're like, you have to stay in the outfield because they're going to keep hitting it out there. And and like of our 3 outfielders, you're the only one that's halfway decent. So
yeah. Wow. Amazing. And look, you parlayed that into a great rugby career.
Yeah, sure did. I was like, I don't like baseball. Get me out of here.
Yep. Hey, better you fail fast than, commit your entire life to it and decide you don't like it after all. So anyways, summer games, I drive around and I see all the V.B.S. themes. It seems like nowadays that the themes are pretty similar to what we experienced. I was just driving around some and seeing like the signs for churches of what they have. I saw one that looked like some sort of like gem mine or something like that, which seems to be pretty interesting. I saw one that
Minecraft
was like
themed, perhaps.
It wasn't Minecraft. I think it was like I was thinking of like
Minecraft, maybe
like actual mining, there's a mine cart on it or something like that.
Blood diamonds. Yes.
maybe not what it was, but that's what I remember. I remember seeing like the jungle themes. That's pretty common, and every kid likes being animals, right? Especially younger kids. But I wonder what it's like now. Do you have any experience? Have you volunteered recently?
Not recently, but I do know that at one point, I don't know if the church still does this, but our church outsourced their V.B.S. to Beulah Beach. And it was called like Beulah on the Road or something. And basically Beulah Beach, which is like it's a Christian camp in Ohio. They would come to your church with a bunch of their counselors, and they would do VBS for you. So I know that they were doing. So they basically didn't have the need for any volunteers or anything because they came fully prepared or whatever. I remember they were doing that because they still had I was like, can I volunteer for VBS? And they're like, we already have something. And I was like, I mean, I'll come help or whatever. And they're like, okay. And I just had nothing to do, and it was boring. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm not coming back the rest of the week. And they're like, all right, fine.
Yeah, that makes sense because, I mean, looking back on it, as a kid, it runs smoothly. You're having fun. Yeah. I don't remember being bored ever in vacation Bible school. I mean, it was like from activity to activity to activity. And like you said, it literally was 3 hours and it felt like you were there all day because there were 5 or 6 different stations or activities that you did. So props to everyone who ever worked on that at our church. I didn't have an appreciation until I got older, right? Wow, that was really a lot of moving parts to get done there.
Another thing that would happen a lot of times, at least for me at VBS, is you would make plans to go home with a friend after VBS. So on Tuesday, I might go home with my friend Kenny, and then the next day I might go home with my friend Dennis, and then the next day I might go home with Dave or something. And so it kind of did turn into an all day thing where it was all right, well, VBS is over, but I still get to hang out with my friend for another couple hours or whatever. We're going to go play video games or something at home or whatever. So
yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
It was cool, but it makes sense why they would potentially want to outsource that to some point. Yeah. It's a great business idea because the coordination required, especially if you haven't done that before or you don't have an established legacy program like that.
Yeah, for a lot of smaller churches, I mean, our church probably didn't need to do it, but for a lot of other churches, it would be a really great opportunity because they'd get in a bunch of young people, which, a lot of, smaller churches might not have, 20 college students or whatever hanging around like our church did or whatever. And they come in and they have all this, high production value and stuff, which again, you may not have. And yeah, pretty cool idea.
Yeah. So I guess we'll end with this idea, Jared. If you can pick an ideal theme for VBS, maybe it's one you've done, maybe it's one you haven't done. What would you suggest is good, a good territory for the VBS creators to explore thematically that we really haven't done before? What's something that you would throw in the
Star
idea
Wars
box?
Parody. Star Wars parody is my pitch. I think that would rule. Especially when I was a little kid, if they did a Star Wars theme one, I would have lost my mind. I still probably would, but that would have been this is the best.
Yeah, that would have been sweet. I'm sure the Disney lawyers would definitely come after you for anything remotely resembling a lightsaber. I mean, maybe Bible Man had some special grace before it got to Disney.
It's not a lightsaber. It's the sword of the spirit.
Yeah, right. It's not technically a lightsaber, but I think Star Wars is a really smart idea. I think kids would love that. The one that I was thinking of is again, these are all brands and things, so they probably won't get made. But I just remember at a time, I don't know if it'd be possible to do a Lego themed craft or things like that. But the Lego verse is huge. And, thinking of poor Bob getting kicked out of the craft thing for trying to make a bird feeder that he thought was lame and stupid. Imagine if you had a chance to build something everyone could collaborate
just a Lego set, custom Lego set.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a custom set, but those take some time to put together, right? And so they also sort of lend themselves to different stages where we can get through steps 1 through 10 today, and then 11 through 20 tomorrow, and then by the end of it, you made a Noah's Ark of Legos or whatever, or everyone does something different and then you combine them into one big scene at the end. I thought that would be cool. I like Legos a lot as a kid, and actually it reminded me because you said Star Wars. Star Wars Legos is also one of those big collabs that made everyone go nuts. So
could maybe do another one that's the Avengers, but they are trying to assemble the Avengers of the Bible. So it's they got to get Moses, David, Elijah, Jesus, Peter and Paul or something, and they're gonna some story about that where they have to assemble them for some reason.
And the
Jesus is obviously Captain America. Who do we think would be the rest of the Avengers? Who's Iron Man? Who do we think?
Maybe Peter, because he's the rock on which the church will be built. So, and maybe
not the Hulk. You don't think Peter would be the Hulk? He flies into a rage.
that he could be. I was thinking maybe maybe Thomas or something like that, but I don't know.
Okay.
I was thinking the green-eyed monster. Yeah.
We could save that for another podcast. We're putting together who if we had to assign a Bible character to the Avengers, who would be who? We'll tease that for another episode.
So Bible writers, or not Bible writers, V.B.S.
fan fiction
script writers, right? Star Wars, Legos, and Avengers, some combination of those could be hot. What if you made a bootleg? Okay, what if you made a bootleg V.B.S. thing where you didn't sell it, but you just had it printed out online, it was free on Etsy to download. It was here's our V.B.S. thing, and it's the Avengers characters. And if it's copy, if they strike it down, whatever, it's sold for free.
If someone were to produce this as a V.B.S., who are we to know?
Right, this is purely fan fiction, but just for the context of
fiction that we wrote in the context of a V.B.S. with all original songs.
That could be sweet. Well, if you want to see that, get on it. Let us know. Hit us up on or is this the end?
Oh yeah. Hit them with the socials.
Okay. I was going to say that was a perfect transition to say, if you have a better pitch for what the V.B.S. writers should be working on in the future, or you have a copy of those mythical items that we talked about, you can find us on Twitter at YG Reunion Tour, on Instagram at Youth Group Reunion Tour. And you can send us an email if you do have any leads on those types of things. So youthgroupreuniontour@gmail.com to send us a message. We will read your message on air if you want us to. If you don't want us to, just say.
Speaking of, we do have some fan mail.
Do we?
Let me see if I can get it up here. Give me a second. I'll read it. It's from our UK correspondent.
Okay.
From Flo.
Okay.
So let me bring this up here. Where is it? Okay, so this says. This is from our good friend Flo in the UK. It says, "Hey Mike and Jared, I'm sorry for the late response. It's literally months later. Thank you for your quick response to my email. I was rather chuffed when I heard you read my email on the podcast. Also, just wanted to say that phrase perfectly. Hands down, you." And the British seal of approval. So it's the Union Jack and a top hat, and she said it hands us the British seal of approval. I think I did all right with chuffed. Honestly, I don't think that there is much difference between youth group culture in the UK and in the States. From what I can remember, I would say silent discos and soul survivor festivals. These two things are iconic elements of youth ministry here in the UK. Soul Survivor ran from 1993 to 2019. It was basically an event that many youth groups across the country would attend every year in the summer. Anyway, guys, I've been loving the episodes, especially the many tangents that you guys go on. Man, have we got a treat for you this episode. So keep smashing it. Flo.
All right. Awesome.
We'll have to look up that Soul Survivor thing. That sounds. I have heard of silent discos, but our youth group never did it. But that does seem like a very youth group thing to do. But we'll have to check out what that Soul Survivor thing is.
For some reason,
pretty cool. It sounds like a life conference type of thing.
I was going to say Soul Survivor sounds like, what was that movie about the girl who was a surfer?
It is spelled SOUL is the way soul is spelled. Soul Surfer, I believe.
Soul Surfer, not Soul Survivor. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. I knew there was maybe a movie of that time, but we'll have to look it up. Maybe do a future episode on it.
Yeah.
If you have any more insight or things like that you want to share, you have our socials.
Yeah. Send us an email. You could get read on the podcast just like Flo. Flo, thanks so much for sending us another one. Send us an email. Tell us what your best memory of, V.B.S. was, or your favorite theme, or whatever else it was. And then until next time, we'll catch you
on the flip
side.
Do we do that right, or do we delay?
No, you always mess it up. Is it because we're delayed?
It could be. I mean, do
Let's
you want to try it again?
All right. We're gonna do it again. As soon as I start, you're just gonna join in. Ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Flip side. That's it. Yeah. That was better, right? Do you want to do it one more time for the fans?
Yeah, leave it all in. Leave it in.
Okay.
We're gonna go. Here we go. You do it this time. Okay. I'm gonna join it. Okay.
Until then, we'll catch you on the flip side. See,
you're
we're delayed.
It out to, no. You'll catch you on the flip side. It's not. Right. You're holding it too long.
On the flips. Okay, so on the flip side, like 2 counts.
Yep. Do it again. We're gonna do it again. Okay. Leave all this in.
All right. Here we go. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
On the flip side. There you go.
That's do it. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Book it. Punched it in. Let's go. I hope you like this, everyone. Jared complains about it every time. So now I've learned to do it right. We're going to make it work. And I'm keeping all this in. All right. Gather yourself so I can cut this at a good point. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Catch you on the flip side. You're too slow. All right, bye.
Check this out.